With the release of Darkwing Blast, the meta is about to change, and that's why we're going to be talking about meta trends. Hey guys, this is Tombox, and welcome to Meta Trends. And today's episode, we're going to be covering two major trends thanks to Darkwing Blast. The first one is going to be the introduction of new decks coming into the meta. The second one is going to be about the free engine decks that we get to play that have major impact overall in terms of card advantage, the battle phase, and just overall counterplay in general. Beasteel decks are probably going to start surfacing in our meta very soon. They're very powerful, and you're likely going to see them in basically two decks: Dragonlink Beasteels and Branded Beasteel. Dragonlink Beasteels, this is their way of recovering from the huge banless slaughter, and it does give them a lot of dragons to play with because the entire deck is made up of dragons, so therefore the dragon combos are going to be live. And naturally, Beasteels are very good at recovery. If they get Magnamut and if they get to their mid game, you're going to be playing a harsh grind game, and they're going to have a lot of control thanks to Branded Beast and the Branded Regain. That's going to help them get additional draw power along the way and recover some of those banished dragons or banished light and darks back into the deck and gain a draw. And if there's Beasteel cards in the graveyard, if your opponent summons, they're going to be able to start reviving them. And they have graveyard triggers when they're sent from the field to the grave. So there's going to be a lot to work with there. But on the second hand here, we have the Branded Beasteel stuff. This gives the Branded Despia deck a much needed skill ceiling push. Now, on top of just what they can already do, which is already quite powerful, sure, it might be a little bit more predictable nowadays, but now they get to push it even further. With Branded Beast, now they're going to have a pop destruction effect available to them, and on top of that, they get a revival effect thanks to Branded Regain and abilities to put back some other cards into the deck and draw cards, which is going to be very annoying. On top of that, of course, the natural line of Beasteel monsters being able to function like pseudo DD Crows with a 2500 attack body, as well as getting other forms of card advantage through removal or through adding cards or just putting more stuff onto the field. This is stuff that they are able to do very, very well. If they have Magnamut, they're going to recover more and more cards, which makes any deck that plays light and dark suffer like random DD Crows that are just going to come out of nowhere. So tier limit changes. First of all, Nibiru is not going to be as good because they have Roll Kalos now. They can just fuse away the Kit Kalos back into the deck and put a Roll Kalos out and continue their play. And that is just going to be something that to be expected even in the future because it is just that good. Second thing to note, tier limit Scream of course has been added into their deck. So beware when you normal summon, and for them, they're going to love having it face up when they summon out that Merly. That's going to give them a 6-card mill, giving them deep reach for basically free. And even if that card's sent to the graveyard, they get to add some of their traps back. So it's not the end of the world here. And the thing is, they're not even done evolving because they still have the Magnificent Maven stuff coming out, which is going to change their deck likely to a tier 0 status, because once you add fairies into the mix, Herald of Orange Light plus Roll Kalos, I don't know how they're going to get stopped by anything at this point because it's just very limited. You can't even really D-shifter them if they're going to Herald of Orange you. As for sprites, one of the biggest gain would be Sprite Sprint, which turns any level 2 plus another monster into full combo. That's just to be expected because they can dump Nimble Angler. Nimble Angler was kind of an iffy card back then, like, oh, you have to like open it to actually use it, or you have to use Foolish Burial. Well, you don't have to do it anymore because basically your Foolish Burial is in your extra deck, and summoning it out basically gives you the body to build the full board. But on top of just like having the full board, I think the card that I want to elaborate a bit more on would be the Double Cross. I think this card is good enough to the point where you can run 1, 2, or 3 depending on how you want to play your sprites, because it does offer you a type of control that is a little bit uncommon in this day and age of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is 1 permanent stealing of your opponent's monster, attaching your opponent's card to your card, or just using it as a monster reborn. Because you can reborn anything as long as you have an open arrow under a link to monster. That allows you to basically revive anything. So from your Kashtira Fenrir's to your Totally Awesome. And that's why Toad could probably see a little bit more play thanks to this particular trap card, because now you're dealing with a triple Toad. If you got hand trapped and you still got to Toad Double Cross plus the Elf, this is a triple Toad negate because Toad's already on the field. That's 1. So if you burn 1 during the standby phase, your opponent tries to chain Call by the Grave, you chain your Double Cross, then you summon your Toad back, and you still negated the other card. So that's still live, and now you have a live Toad with a Sprite Elf that's not even burned yet. So now if they have to commit monsters, you can negate it again, and now you get to revive it with the Elf, and you get to negate again. So there's a lot of negations happening with the 1 Toad, 1 Double Cross, and just an Elf, and you can also win with with the poor timing of the Sprite Elf. So that's another big change in terms of sprite changes. But likely most of you guys are probably going to jump ship into playing Runic Sprite because Joshua Schmidt did so well, and congratulations to you on your YCS win. And it definitely like changed up how people would play Mannequin Cat. So you're likely going to see people shift into Mannequin Cat to deal with a lot of the Runic Sprite boards and all of the other matchups that were related. And he had his Thunder King Ryo, his Chaos Hunter to deal with the D-Shifter, and I believe there was also Tetsuno, whatever, that little turtle guy. That was also really, really clutch, and it was just really impressive to see someone push Mannequin Cat so far into basically securing these games. So, hats off to you. And likely what's going to happen is we're going to see a surge of Wanderese players because at Utrecht, well, what happened was, I believe the finals, not the finals, but finals of Swiss, the last round of Swiss, the two undefeated players were both having a mirror match with Wanderese, and that just goes to show how strong that deck actually is. So hopefully you don't run into any sort of Chaos Hunter shenanigan through Mannequin Cat, but that was also something that is to be noted. And so to help you guys kind of keep up with the game, free engines to be expected in upcoming future play post Darkwing Blast. Number one is going to be the Bestial engine. Yes, it is very much splashable. A lot of these new archetypes, they don't have a restriction attached to them, which makes them very powerful. The second one is going to be Kashtira, namely just Fenrir being shoved into everyone's deck because he's so free. And the third one, interestingly enough, is Soul Scissors. Soul Scissors is not just a card to support Sprite, but other decks can also capitalize off of its effects simply because it exists, and it also doesn't carry any restriction. But starting with the Bestial stuff. Bestial stuff, mainly the Magnemut and the Druid Worm, people are going to tech maybe 3 to 5 copies of these cards because they are pseudo DD Crows and they are a much bigger threat than DD Crow. Magnemut, one thing to note is that this one automatically replaces itself during the end phase by adding any dragon monster back in your hand. So you just can't add Magnemut, so you're going to add Druid Worm, and Druid Worm provides you with a little bit of extra surprise for your opponent, because if Druid Worm gets sent to the graveyard, it sends away one of your opponent's special summon monsters, and that's pretty good. So for a card that just comes out for free, you basically get 2 monsters and you also get an additional removal, and there's no conditions attached to it. You can even use them like DD Crows because they're quick effect to summon, and you can even use it to protect yourself. That's also one of the key things here. If there is a Druid Worm in your hand, your opponent has a light or dark monster, and they go into the battle phase with an access code of all things, you can just banish one of your opponent's cards and summon out the Druid Worm to chump block that access code. And that makes the survivability much better. And because they killed a Druid Worm is going to send away the access code anyway. So there's a lot going for this new stuff. So you can expect people to play these over the DD Crow because it provides them with the body, and it also gives you that negation. And anything that DD Crow would banish in this current format, these guys can banish just as well. You're looking at people banishing perhaps like Soul Scissors, Tearlament Aqua monsters. I think you can hit Drytron monsters as well. So there's a lot of like capable options here. Sprite Blues, whatever that's light or dark that's being targeted by Sprite Elf. There's a lot going for it, and that's why it's really important that you're going to see these over DD Crows, because the additional body does help give you a little bit more card advantage and help you reach OTKs a little bit faster. The next one is the obvious one, the one card that everyone wants. It's Kashtira Fenrir. First of all, if you guys don't know what it is, if you can special summon it when you don't control any monsters, so that's really good already. And then you can activate its effect to add another copy of a Kashtira monster, and it does not exclude itself. So Fenrir can add Fenrir, so expect people to add 2 to 3 copies in the main or side deck, because this card is also a board breaker. It can attack, and then during the attack declaration, it will trigger, and you can banish a face-up card that your opponent controls, and it will banish it face down, so you don't even have to worry about Mirror Drain triggering. It's really that good, and you can even use it to take out floodgates because you can banish monsters, spells, or traps. Whatever it is, it's just so capable, and it does replenish itself. So the free replenishing is already really good, which means you can continue your turn while kind of threatening your opponent to remove stuff off of their side of the field. And if you're stuck under, like, I don't know, a summon limit, special summon this card, add 1 attack, get rid of the summon limit, and play out the rest of your turn. So this card is just really amazing with a lot of applications. You can even play E-Telly and immediately make a Baron, and Baron's on the field, and you replace the card already back into your hand. So everything is super free. So yeah, it's kind of getting weird where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just giving you a ton of ways just to gain card advantage. And the final monster that's not getting as much attention as the other ones it's gonna be the Soul Scissors. Soul Scissors, don't underestimate this card. It's not just a sprite card. It can be used in tier elements as well. It can be paired up with the Bestial cards as well, especially Druid Swarm. If you need some board clearing power and you have a Druid Swarm that can only send away one card, but you're worried about a negate, well, pairing Soul Scissors with it basically makes it so that you're going to chain block against your opponent, because Chain Link 1 is going to be the Druid Swarm, Chain Link 2 is going to be the Soul Scissors, and you get to just summon out the Druid Swarm, and, well, you get to send something away. This card summons out, this card summons out, pops another card. That's 2 cards cleared, and I think you're up a whole card. So that's why there's, like, a lot of potential with that card, and I can see why it can be splashed with a lot of things. Like if you're chump blocking with like a Hugin, and all of a sudden Hugin dies, but then now your copy of Soul Scissor comes out and pops a card. So there's a lot of like random threats, and a lot of it's happening in the battle phase, which makes the battle phase a lot harder to push through if you don't read basically everything in the graveyard before you commit. And if you're expecting your opponent to have some Bestial cards, remember Druid Swarm is going to send away your stuff, so you might not have as much damage as it seems because you didn't calculate for the fact that Druid Swarm will send away one of your cards. That's all I got for meta trends for today. I'm hoping you guys like kind of learned a few things about, you know, don't think that you have game automatically right now, because of course the Bestial stuff, they will come out and randomly chump block you. Soul Scissors might come out just randomly pop you. And funny enough, you can randomly just pop an Access Code Talker with the Soul Scissors if they are not aware. So these are the cards that you need to be aware of moving into the format, and the decks that you need to be aware of in the future and their different interactions. Thank you guys for watching. Check out MSTmerch.com if you guys want to help support the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.